Hello everyone. Welcome to the 11th of February. We are about to draw Audrey part 2. So 2 days ago we started with Audrey part 1, which was, I think I still have the... Yeah, here we go. Here's the full image. This was the first ever reference photo I worked from the Sketchy app in 2016. And I thought it would be interesting to revisit. And this was the drawing I did back in 2016. So that's 9 years ago. And then I got in touch with Audrey on Instagram just a couple of days ago and asked if we could work from her picture during the stream. And she said yes, which is cool. And yeah, an interesting thing I remember I didn't mention. So we're going to start drawing. You can all start drawing. Let me know in the chat who's here. I see 9 people are here. I just spent 3 hours talking with my mentorees in our first ever group call, which was really cool. And then just spent 2 hours doing Zoom portrait sketching between 30-second and 6-minute portraits. So I've been sitting here for a long time. And now here we are with the daily reference. I'm showing daily reference every day and doing a live stream every day, and it's really great to have you here with me. Now 14 people here. Ingrid is here, who I just got to meet for the first time in Zoom. And Kiki is here, who I've shared time with today. So nice to have you here. So after drawing Kendrick yesterday, I flipped back to my ink spread. So here we are. I saved this space in the composition between Audrey 1 and Bob Marley over here, and here is space for this. So the first time I drew from this reference, I did not draw the second part. I just focused on that one side. And I was just going to say there was that Audrey, who's a tattoo artist, came over from the French Girls app to Sketchy. I was never part of the French Girls app, but that was also an app where people were drawing each other. If you know the French Girls app from back in the day, I don't know if it's still a thing. I guess it's a reference to Titanic, Draw Me Like One of Your French Girls. But yeah, Audrey came from there to Sketchy and is part of the Sketchy community. Tommy, Jessica, Maya, Rachel, so nice to have you all here. Let's continue drawing Audrey part 2. I see that many people in the daily reference chat went straight ahead and already drew from the second Audrey, but I spontaneously yesterday decided to draw Kendrick, which was fun. I enjoyed the way the drawing turned out. Let's start drawing. I've just done a bunch of 6-minute portraits. Here are a couple of the 6-minute portraits I just did. So I'm warmed up, ready to draw. Hopefully, I want to show you these ones too, because these are really cool. An interesting page. So Kiki just returned to Earth from Mars, and then this looks like Kathy is leaning back and smoking, but she was actually supposed to be eating chocolate. And Judith was at the circus. So those are some of my 6-minute portraits that I just did in Zoom. And Lisbeth is here for a quick break from watching the continuous line drawing tutorial on Patreon. So cool. Yes, I have a continuous line drawing tutorial on Patreon. Everyone can go check it out. There's a link down in the description to get to my Patreon. One of the many ways in which you can empower me to create and share so much online. I share monthly tutorials, and I've got to start thinking now. I'm getting towards the end of my continuous line phase at the moment, I think. I just realized I made that hand a bit small. And yeah, I'm curious about what the next phase will bring. So this is interesting, having a face already existing here as like a kind of reference to see where do I put the next marks in relationship to the reference, like how the pictures are, how the faces are like in relationship to each other. Kind of trying in some way to use one portrait as orientation to figure out where to place the next. How's everyone doing? Luis is here. Hola. Buenas noches. How are you doing, Lewis? So Lewis was one of the people who's like, hang on, weren't we supposed to draw Audrey yesterday? And here we are, drawing Audrey. Nice to have you here, Lewis. Nice to have all of you here. And if you're watching the comments, if you're watching the replay, you can leave a comment. And I'd love to hear from you. Love to know who's watching, who's drawing with me. And if you'd like to join our daily reference Discord server chat, where I share all of these awesome reference photos and people share their work, the link to the Discord server is in the description. If the link is no longer active, leave a comment and say that link is not active, and I will send you a shiny new active link, because they expire after a while. What are people up to? What have you been doing? Those of you who were just drawing with me, I know what you've been doing. Every Tuesday I host a live Zoom portrait sketch session, and we draw each other. You can, if you're curious but don't want to be seen, you can also join with your camera off. No one has to pose, but it's super fun posing for each other, sharing stories. There are a lot of laughs and interesting stories and experiences and fantasies that people share with each other. And it's a very enjoyable way to practice sketching together. Hi Meryl, Annette. Tommy has a nasty flu and a mouse has moved into the sofa. Ooh, okay, good luck with that. What do you do about a mouse that's moved into the sofa? Something lives in our walls, and it stays within the walls and doesn't come in the house, but I have been wondering about what it's doing in the walls. Sometimes I hear it at night and it's like, I have in the past shared living space with mice. I remember one night waking up with the feeling of little paws, little mouse hands on my face, and kind of like, you know, that feeling when you go from being asleep to like wide awake super fast, and the adrenaline and like, wow. I didn't really want a mouse chilling on my face at night. We had these wonderful live traps. We lived at the edge of a forest, and I would like trap these mice and go take them to the forest, and it was an intimate experience getting to know these mice. But even being in the live trap was a pretty stressful experience for the mice, it seemed. But so far, in our new place, apart from in the walls and in the garden, I have not had any intimate experience with mice. So this is coming up towards 6 minutes of the continuous line drawing. This has been an interesting rhythm to like, particularly with the ink, to even with the Inktense pencils, like to spend 6 minutes working on the continuous line part of it. There's so much going on in the hair here, and then following up with the water brush to move some ink around, and the combination of like a continuous line drawing and then like an ink wash kind of painting, I have found to be really interesting, exploring that the past few weeks. 6 minutes is up. I'm just wondering if there are places to put a lot more ink down, which could be interesting. Just putting ink down at this phase is also ink to borrow from. But maybe for now, that's it. The cat invited the mouse home. That's interesting. An interesting and untraditional cat-mouse relationship. Now I've got my water brush, which is just this it has a water reservoir and synthetic brush bristles to grab the ink and move it around. And I'm compared to here, the whole face is in shadow. Oh, it's a bit green, teal from yesterday still. But once we get going, won't even notice that really. Do I have something absorbent to soak up things? Kind of bleeding out beyond the edge, but that's how it is this time. So after this, tomorrow's stream will be earlier than today's. It'll be at 9 Central European time. And I'll be going back to pencil spread. Or going forward. And I'll give some thought to what it is that I mean by continuous line. I feel like it's been really great, not continuous line, but pure line. That's kind of the idea I want to explore. It's been really great with all of the continuous line and the tutorial which I made for Patreon, and all of this time focusing on continuous line. But I want to start kind of figuring out what I even mean by pure line, which I think can be interesting. It's going to be, it'll be something different. So there are, I guess something I'm thinking of is there was a series of fine liner drawings I did, really fine tip felt pens, where it was really about, I was trying to be exact and considered with my mark making. I'm going to let this dry a bit, and then I'm going to add some more definition in places I want it. I think so I think I will, rather than just letting the line go everywhere, I'm going to try and be really clear and light with my mark making, with this idea of pure line, the idea of making premeditated marks. Sometimes really contemplating, okay, is this where I want it to go before I put the mark down, rather than just letting it grow and expand all over the page. I think that's what I mean. This is interesting. It's kind of interesting to notice the moments where it's interesting, and in relationship to this, maybe it could even be finished like that. There is some more definition I know I want to add, but the relationship between these two, it feels really interesting, kind of floating, separated from the bottom edge here. How's everyone doing? 21 of you here now. Who's here who hasn't said hello yet? Welcome. It's nice to have you here. Today has been the longest block of time that I have spent a super focused, long time sitting at my computer, because I had my first ever mentorship group call today, which I really enjoyed, and hope that the mentorees did too. And we spent 3 hours together, and I had an idea of what we were going to do throughout the session, and what we were going to cover and talk about together. And I was like, oh, I wonder, 3 hours is a long time. But once we reached the 3 hour mark, I was like, oh, I feel like we could just keep going. It was really interesting. It was very, very cool just to delve into the where people are at with their work, their inspiration, where the growth edge is, what people would like to learn and expand upon. And it was really, really cool conversation. I enjoyed it a lot. And then after that, had a little say goodnight to the kids break, and had a mini meal, and then went and drew in Zoom for 2 hours with my friends. So it's been lots of lots of drawing, lots of time sitting at the computer. Wolverine, love how the cheek of the left first one turned out with the lines. Yeah, that was really interesting. So this idea, and just in the past day, there have been a few comments about how the continuous line thing is looking really cool. And though I've really enjoyed focusing so much on the continuous line approach. It has been super interesting. But I have set myself kind of this idea of exploring different approaches to starting a drawing and doing a drawing. So I'll be shifting. I'll also be filming for my February Patreon tutorial. I'm going to, as I explore this idea of pure line, I will be making a tutorial about that as well. And through my explorations here in the streams and contemplation about line, finding different ways to approach a drawing with a kind of clarity and lightness and consideration, which I think is going to be really interesting. Like I feel like it's hard to stop. The continuous line thing has been really cool. And yeah, just this thing you're mentioning here, that line, the way I like went up and then bring the shadow down from there, I feel like that worked out really well. And they've been really interesting explorations. Just committing to doing continuous line for a while has had really interesting results. And I'm really curious to see by the end of the year, and I'm sure I can jump around and dip into little like phases of trying out one approach and maybe go back to something that was cool and maybe combining that with that. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how it all turns out. And if you'd like to follow the tutorial journey, my Patreon, for $10 a month, there are tutorials, monthly tutorials. And also you get instant access to my archived tutorials. There are 34, I think, at the moment. So there is a lot of opportunity to practice and draw together. And the tutorials are pretty different. I'm happy here to address any questions people have. Whenever you have a question about technique or how to do something, like I'm not going to hold back. There are no secrets. But the genre of tutorial and the teaching and the focus that goes into really thinking about and articulating the process is different than the live stream experience. These live streams are about practicing together, just making the time, creating the context to just practice, keep practicing, drawing, seeing lots of different faces, trying different things. And my timer just ended. So I guess all up, that was 12 minutes, though we've been here for 20. What size and scale do I work at roughly? Well, something that kind of became a byproduct of my camera setup and this live streaming is that I often work at like an A5 size, because the way I have my camera set up, that's what I can show. So you'll see here that this is an A4 size sketchbook. This is an A4 page here, and it's a landscape format. And when I have the reference here, I've got like an A5 size in the middle, and I have so this is the paper that I use almost all of the time. Even this sketchbook is Hanemüller Nostalgie paper, which I feel holds the ink really nicely. It takes a bit of water. Like when I go brushing on here, there's a bit of warping to the paper, but if it's not too wet, it can handle it. It reforms, it holds holds itself together. So this is a size that I've done a lot of these, and most of my live stream sketches before I started sketching into this book were on this kind of paper, and in my tutorials I'm often working directly from this paper. I've also painted on walls, and this is just like a convenient size. It's kind of working at this scale has become, it's part of the whole camera desk setup, really. And I would be really, I'd like to do bigger stuff as well. Maybe I'll have a bigger phase, and it could be interesting to set up things differently and work bigger. And yeah, I have painted on walls, and I essentially used exactly the same technique. I just scaled up my tools. So instead of having a calligraphy pen, I had brushes that were like this, big flat brushes, and just used my whole body instead of just drawing from a hand. So that's the answer, Rachel. Any other questions? That was it for today. Thank you very much, Audrey. I'm really glad we've been able to reconnect. And also Nadia, these were a couple of my first sketchy muses, and I've really enjoyed getting back to sketchy. I've been sharing some of my stream work over there as well. And it's really cool because sketchy has been such a fruitful and inspiring place and community where people share images and draw each other. Thank you for being here. I'd love to see your work. So tag me, tag Audrey, join the Discord server if you're not already. Cheryl has put up a drawing hand emoji. If you've made it to the end of this live stream, put a drawing hand emoji there. So I know that it's awesome. It's so cool. I really appreciate that you spend this time practicing with me. And, we just keep practicing. We keep drawing, and we keep learning and seeing and experiencing new things together. It's really great. I enjoy it so much. Thank you for being here. Like and subscribe if you haven't already and you've made it to the end of the video. That's something that is a good thing to do. It helps the channel grow, apparently. And leave a comment. In the comments, if you're watching the replay, ask me a question. I will answer. I'm happy to respond and answer to all of the questions. So thank you for being here. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. German time. Thank you for all these drawing hands now. So cool. You are wonderful, and I really enjoy the opportunity to draw together.